right, welcome back. So today we are out here with the Mojave at a little dirt lot. Got a grass field over here, got some basketball courts. We're gonna do some ripping around. So I'm gonna start my GPS. I do have a GPS on it. It's testing, we're tracking. I'm missing one body clip, which I didn't catch. So we got one body clip. And I'm still on the old factory controller. Steering trim. Throttle trim. Throttle rate. Steering rate. Really slippery. On this. Oh, gotta be kidding me. And I didn't bring any tools because I went over this whole RC. Went over the shocks, went over the bearings. Never checked the pinion screw because everything was okay. I did make sure it worked, and we are pretty far away from the house. I try to avoid situations like this. I don't think we ripped a few minutes. Look at all this dirt. Let's take a look at this pinion. So it looks like the pinion didn't slip. Well, we are now gonna have to take the whole motor mount setup apart. So we'll see you guys back on the bench. Be right back. All right, so we are back at the house, back on the bench. It's just a blip for you guys. Even if I had tools out there, it would have been really difficult to do this repair. We're gonna pop it apart and I'll show you why. This motor mount setup is kind of a disaster. It was the only option we had back then when I was doing these. I did go through this RC, which is upsetting because I Loctited all the wheels down because these back wheels tend to strip out and the wheel nuts get loose. I believe it's the left rear that it always happens to. So at this point, what we are going to have to do, I think, is we're going to have to pop off the center brace. We're going to have to pop off this side because I don't think I can do it just from the side. But I have to get to this motor mount. This was an eBay motor mount for big blocks, and they didn't. They were very hard to get mesh set, and that's why I went through this RC and checked everything before I left. I honestly do not put RC cars away that are broken on the shelf. If they break, I put them on the floor. I usually label what's going on, and then they will not get put on the shelf until they are repaired and ready to rip. This one, I cleaned it, went through it, and put it on the shelf. So I have to get the switch out of here too. I mounted down this switch using one screw and forcing the castle thing into the holder. So there's our side with Loctite on it. But I have to get to the brace. So you see the wheel. It sucks because the two rear wheels on this thing are brand new. Because I have stripped this wheel out a couple of times. I was running a yellow wheel here for a long time because I have a set of yellows, and then I bought these again. And it looks like one of them's starting to come unglued, which I didn't catch yesterday either. So now that I got that off, I can go ahead and pop. Oh, red light's flashing on this thing. That means it's gonna die soon. So we're gonna pull out our center brace, and then we're gonna do the motor mount setup. Man, this sucks, all this dirt. So as you see, I have tape covering my hole and motor mount setup because this chassis gets hammered with debris. So I literally tape the chassis so that dirt doesn't come up, and since I've done that, my spur gears have not stripped out. Turn to a smaller size. Now you can see why I didn't want to do this on location. It's going to take way too many tools, plus I didn't have Loctite with me anyway. Drive shafts are falling out. All right. So I'm going to leave it like this. As you see, I'll still have to take the pinion off. Because you can't get to the screws behind the big pinion that I have on this style setup. Since I'm pulling the pinion off, I believe this is a 20 or 22 tooth. Bearings are still awesome. So, see how loose these bolts are. Oh, bottom one, dead loose. And so is the top one. So, I'm going to go ahead and pull these screws out one by one. I truly hate these screws. So this bolt pattern was different than the mount that came on this. And I might have a factory big block mount. Mounts. Here's a factory. I don't know if this is a big block mount or a small block mount. This was the big block mount. And there was a reason I put this mount on, because back then these 1250s wouldn't fit. So that's what we're going to do. I'm going to change the whole mount setup. So let me get some Loctite and some stuff together, and I'm going to stick the factory mount and get rid of this mount, because this mount sucks. I didn't have any 5th scale mounts for this thing, so I did it this way. So we're going to go ahead and pull this stuff apart while it's in my hand. And I'm going to get this mount set up out of here. I'm going to have to take a look at that bearing. I think we're going to lube up these bearings. These are shielded bearings. And they're definitely not doing well. I mean, I greased them, or oiled them, I should say, as best I could. But anytime I get bearings out, I definitely rather lube them up. But these mounts are very hard to work with, because you can't adjust it when you get a big pinion on here. If you have a little 12-tooth pinion, you could still use a 90-degree Allen, get in here and set up your mesh. But anytime setting up mesh on one of these things, you got to pull the whole assembly. They work okay, or they did back then. I've used a lot of them, but I find the factory Arrma ones, if you have those will actually work better. So I'll be right back. All right, I'm going to find my grease pen. We're going to lube up these bearings, since I can get to them. I believe these are shielded. Yep. The nice thing about this pen is that you can get right into the shield and throw. You can force the oil into the gap on the shield. Look at that. And that's how I lube up the bearings, with this little pen deal. It's funny that they don't feel sandy or gritty, even though they got sand on the outside. The shield really keeps out the dirt. So now we'll get this off, and we will get this back into its holder. These 4 screws will go up here. All my takeoff stuff, because you never know what's going to fit where. Look at that. God, that spins so nice now that it's lubed. Alright, so I'm going to clean off this chassis now. get this setup put back in here. All right, I'm gonna pop this thing out real quick because I want to check the diff. Oh yeah, that's pretty stiff. I do have a new diff here, but it's a lot softer. These all have different weight. Yeah. Different weight and different size. I might want to, it's a pretty big gear on that one. I can go to a smaller gear. Come on. I'm really debating on running one of these, and this one's got sealed bearings on it. That'll get rid of my shielded bearings. I'm gonna pop this out real quick. This is, you can see the size difference. Yeah, let's try to go down. I like running center differentials on my bashers. I don't like to lock them up, the center diffs, because then you get a lot of drive off the rear wheel, and then it tends to wheelie. And I believe I have 1,000,000 in there, so this is going to be like 100K in the center diff. So that should stop it from doing wheelies. And then I got 2 screws. That's pretty good mesh right there. I think that's pretty good. So we switched from the big Arrma spur to the small Arrma spur. I have 3 or 4 of these small Arrma spurs. 2 of them have, like, I want to say 50 to 100K in them, and the other one's got like 30K. But this should definitely give us more speed. So I can put all this back in now. It's just an easy way of doing it. There we go. Now I'm going to flip it over, put the screws in the bottom. We'll be right back. You know, it's not the motor mount fault, that eBay motor mount. It's something I probably should have checked years ago. Considering I run this RC a lot, and I've never pulled it apart to recheck that. And that's a 20-tooth pinion. So I'll count the teeth here in a minute. I know it's the infraction center differential is what I stuck in there, because a lot of my infractions I pulled out the center diffs. That's why I have so many. But there we go. Mesh felt perfect. Which, can't hate on that. So I probably should have stuck this thing in, but I do want to recheck this because I think when I set up the body, I set one of them up backwards. So I'm going to double check that. We're going to get our center brace in now while everything's out of the way. I end up having to flex the chassis to get this brace back in. So one there, one in the front, and then I can push down at the motor mount area. And no, my chassis is not bent. These chassis just bend a lot. So now that we got that on, I'm gonna make sure that I put the new one in the back. I'm gonna use one in the front. Oh, look at that, shock's coming off too. How did I miss that? I went over this complete RC after I made yesterday's video, and apparently, and I ran this thing before I went out, because no way I'm going to drive 30 minutes someplace and not test to make sure everything on the RC is working. So I have to Loctite these wheels again. I keep forgetting about that. With these, you have to Loctite the wheels. Some people put red, but I just, with plastic wheels, you can't really heat it up. So I like to use blue. That'll just, it's like putting a lock nut, I guess you would say. You got to check something else, your bearings or something. But ever since I've been Loctiting these, I don't strip out the wheels, or I haven't stripped out a set of wheels yet. And these are the only one that I Loctite, is the Mojave. Brace back in there. Make sure that my wires are above it. There we go. I was planning on enjoying myself running some RC today, but apparently I overlooked a few things. So now that we got that, I can put my switch back, this big screw, to hold my switch down. Get this zip tied back up to our brace so it's not flopping around. And that's it. So I'm gonna let this dry overnight, and we're gonna take it out tomorrow. Oh, that reminds me, I gotta fix that shock, because this one's falling off. There we go. All right, so I'm gonna let this thing dry overnight, and we'll get it out tomorrow. So I'll have to grab the new body, put this brace back in, and I can't remember if it's forward or backwards, but we'll get that put back in with the pins. But that's gonna end the video. Wish we could have got some running today, but got the Sky RC charged up, so we're gonna get out, do some ripping on Saturday. And remember, Saturday we're doing the drawing on the Limitless giveaway, so that video will come out tomorrow as well. But there you go. Like, comment, subscribe. Get out there, do some ripping. Hopefully I can get out tomorrow with this thing and get some speed runs with it and see how upgrading the spur gear did. And remember, it's not the motor mount's fault, it's my fault for not checking it, but if it was easier to check, I would have checked it. But we won't have to deal with that anymore. I got the right motor mount on there now, and everything should be good. Now I can adjust it a lot easier than this style motor mount, and we can retire this for another project another day. There we go. Like, comment, subscribe. Catch you guys on my next video. Thanks for watching.